Welcome back, traders. How are we doing today? It is an absolutely fantastic Friday in which we are going to be going over our usual. This is going to be a market breakdown update for the end of the week, going over candle closes, fear and greed index, AMC, Neo, GameStop, and then the overall broader market. So stay the full length of the video if you guys want to obtain all of the knowledge, right? And make sure to slap the subscribe button, like the video if you guys find value in what we're covering. So we're going to start with Neo, but before we do that, we're going to get into the Fear and Greed Index, give her a little refresher, and just take a little peek, right? A little gander at where we're at in the market right now. You can see crypto absolutely bottom of the barrel at extreme fear. I have not quite seen a 10 in extreme fear since last time we were in April. And what happened in April? You saw crypto bottom right around the $74,000 mark. Right before you saw a death cross, you sprung out and you went on an absolutely insane run, guys. What are you doing right now? You are making that low while in extreme peak fear, and you're about to get a death cross. I'm not calling a spring here, but I think it's kind of likely. All right, Neo stock. Now that we've covered GameStop or Bitcoin, Neo stock is doing something that we kind of talked about in our last video, right? This further extension down. Now you closed green if you include the after hours. You're currently sitting, what is that, 623 on the stock, right above this uptrend, right? Or this sloping support, excuse me. Although it is not strong enough in volume to outweigh the previous day, and you do have this 9-day EMA kind of sloping down like you're going to bump your head on it, right? So I do not anticipate us to fill these two gaps yet. If you do, I would expect something a little bit like this, like further consolidation, right? And maybe then you get your move. Very possible. Totally possible. But what I'm watching for on Neo is I'm watching for this further capitulation. Maybe something like this candle, right? A gap down into the 200-day EMA, because what you will accomplish in doing so is you will tap the 200 for the first time since back here when you used it as an absolute launch pad, guys. Use this thing and you rocketed, making a nice sized bottom and going 56% in 14 days. Now that was one of the most invigorating runs of this business cycle so far, and I would not be surprised to see Neo have a reaction similar. So that's why I'm saying I almost am wanting us to come down and to test this 200-day EMA, because so often is that the strength or the reaction that the bulls need to step back into the stock and send this thing higher. I think if you chop around in this formation, yeah, it's possible you break out, but I think it's a little bit more likely with the current market sentiment that you, right? Some price targets on Neo that we're watching for is we were watching for this gap fill right exactly at 514. If you fill the gap at 514 and you close green the same exact day, guys, I would say watch out. Seriously, watch out on Neo, because that would be that spring-esque move that you're going to need to send this thing higher on the stock. So let's say you do something like this. You reject the channel, come back down, fill the gap, support, and then you make your move. Your inverted head and shoulders. That's your best case scenario for filling the gap, in my opinion, is that inverted head and shoulders, or you just tap the 200 and you rock it. But when you look at this, there's no denying that there is a very grotesque slowing down in the bullish momentum. You can see it in the volume, and we've been analyzing this on the weekly. We'll get into that in just a second. But you can see this kind of right shoulder, head, right shoulder. And if that was the case, guys, that target would take you around, say from here to the break. Whoops, I just annihilated that trend line. around that 466 to potentially 4, let's just call it 4 flat. That is what you're looking like on Neo stock for the bull and the bear case scenario. Regardless, I think you just have a little bit more downside here before you see a reversal. Regardless, though, I'm long-term bullish, baby. The weekly close on Neo stock, however, weekly close, you closed right above your downsloping support line. So that's good in terms of hopefully finding a bounce next week, but you're going to have to find it on Monday, because what did you get on the weekly time frame? That is no bueno, not good at all, is you got a weekly cross down of the MACD. Now, this is so often typically not a good thing at all. There's very few times when you've invalidated this, but typically when you get that cross down, you see a flush. You saw it here from 6 down to 3. You saw it here from, what was that? 6 down to 4. And you saw it here from 9 all the way down to 3. So you need to hold these levels. If you do not hold these levels, for me, that validates your head and shoulder setup, and that takes you down to the gap fill at 514, and then also the 200-day EMA, which is not the end of the world, guys. Inevitably, that is, surprise, a higher low on the macro, right? That's your higher low here. If you had to come and march all the way back, which I would not love, but is possible, you still have this 1, 2, potentially 3 rising valley support that you could see around that $4 territory. So all things are still well. Just take a breather and take a look at the Fear and Grid Index, because this is probably the most bullish thing you will see all week. This thing is undefeated. We should treat it as such, right? On TradingView, this just kind of outlines the weekly close a little bit better. The 1, 2, 3 barely close within. So another scenario is you potentially coil within this falling wedge before you hit earnings, and then bink, right? Very possible. It's all going to really rely on what the market does. You are almost at oversold. I know we covered this yesterday. If you get down to oversold, guys, that's when you're pounding the table, right? That's when you're screaming that this thing is a potential buy. But I think this TradingView daily chart kind of outlines his head and shoulders a little bit better. So a little bit of a wait and see on Neo stock. GameStop, GME, our boy Jimmy here. On the weekly time frame, you're doing something very interesting, and let me tell you what that is. We outlined this way back, like I want to say a couple weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, that there is a potential setup here of a retest of your breakout of the bull flag. So you had this bull pennant, right? Your higher highs and lower lows coiling, bing. And then you hit your head on the POC, point of control, which is your all-time maximum horizontal support on GME. That sits at $28. You rejected, and you came all the way back down, guys. Over the span of 2 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 weeks, 2 months, guys. You stair-stepped your way all the way down to retest this previous resistance. Now, if you're able to find a bounce here, guys, and Lord, do we need it. If you're able to find a bounce here, that should act as that nice-sized move, that nice-sized launch pad to get out of this price range and back above this uptrend. That is what we're watching for, because back above this uptrend, guys, it's game freaking on. That's what we're waiting for. That's what we're watching for. If you come back up here and reject it, then I have unfortunate news. Then it's probably looking like you're coming down to $18. So that will be pivotal, guys. When we get a break from this falling wedge that's on the daily time frame, you can see here, close with a green doji. What a bottom signal. A green doji typically shows you, doji candlesticks in general typically show you that the bears are running out of momentum, or bulls if it's at the top of a trend. But oftentimes they come at end of trends. I like to call them the end of the trend, right? and they're showing indecision. So you have a couple different things in the daily time frame that look really good on GameStop. You have this retest of the previous resistance as new support at the end of this potential falling wedge, as well as, drumroll, you have your first entrance, of oversold territory since back here on the RSI. What did you do? You saw a pretty significant spring. It was temporary, but you saw a 20% spring in 8 days, guys. So if we're going to see that spring, hopefully that takes you back within this uptrend. If you reject, it's getting ugly. So that's what we're waiting for. That's what we're watching for on GameStop. Just quick little update there. AMC, absolutely nothing has changed. I know we're still at all-time lows, and that doesn't look great, right? In fact, it looks really, really bad. However, on AMC, you've actually done the thing. I know we've talked about the thing, but you've officially done the thing in which you could get balls to butt. I know I said it really, really fast because of the fact that you've now made your official touch, and we'll see how it reacts. I hope it's good. If it doesn't react, we're going to reverse Pluto. We're going down. But you've officially, on your weekly RSI, guys, had the first touch of weekly RSI divergence, or excuse me, not my first touch, but what is that? The second, third, your third touch of bullish divergence. Now, why is that significant? Because back here during your previous accumulative pattern before you squeeze higher out of this range, you had that exact same setup. So it feels like the market makers are running back the exact same playbook. Nothing is promised. Nothing is guaranteed. But with these signs, it's going to be interesting to see in the coming weeks when you do see a market recovery if this is potentially a catalyst for AMC to find its bottom. And it was last time. So you can see this lower low, but these higher lows consistently made on the RSI, same way it was here, right? You look back, that's your setup. This is your setup, right? Lower low, almost a lower low, lower low, lower low, but you had a higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So it's fascinating to see. And then I know we had our micro falling wedge, but I seem to have found, and I had this drawn up yesterday to see if you come down to test the actual trend line, and you almost have, taking this new falling wedge-esque formation on the micro. You can see this tap, 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 where you saw just one knife down below, but this is potentially a falling wedge setup here on the absolute macro. So maybe we got it wrong. Maybe it wasn't this ascending triangle. If it was, then you're seeing that dump. But we're going to have to see how you react to the technical confluence of this falling wedge and this bullish div starting next week on Monday. Monday's going to be a very, very big trading day, guys. So make sure to stay tuned because we're going to be here. And for better or for worse, right? Whether the markets are bloody red or they're golden green. On the daily time frame, what did AMC do? Not great, but you did leave a gap above yourself. And that's the first gap that you can technically see for quite some time. So I would anticipate you come back to fill that, which in my eyes make this a potential spot to average down. Yeah. Your gap is sitting right around 20 or 233. God, $20. Imagine 233 is your daily gap on AMC. So that's something to watch as well to see if maybe if you do find this bottom along this trend line here in about 1 penny or 1 penny off the low. Or wherever you tap, right? Could totally happen down here. Wherever you find that bottom, hopefully you see that spring action. Maybe you see a lower low, right? Oh no, the market's capitulating, and then woo, everyone rallies. That's what we're going to watch for on AMC. We have to see if that weekly bullish div, guys, on the RSI plays through. That's what we're watching. And then our last thing that I wanted to cover, not Litecoin. Get out of here, Litecoin. Bitcoin. Very, very interesting in terms of a setup. And we mentioned it in the beginning, but the market is in absolute turmoil. It's in absolute chaos right now. And in my opinion, not financial advice, this is a fantastic freaking place to buy if you look at your risk to reward. You can put a stop loss beneath 92, 93K, right? Depending on how far you grind down this trend. But you've officially wicked off of it, and it looks like you might actually get on the daily time frame a daily bullish hammer candle. You have altcoins going absolute ballistic from their lows. They were down like 6% today, already up 2, 3, 4%. Litecoin up 6%. And this happens almost every single time that Bitcoin's about to get death cross. You see this V-shaped recovery, right? Death cross imminent, literally like a pincer of a hair away, and V line imminent. Death cross imminent. Oh my goodness, we're going to zero. V line imminent, and then higher highs. Death cross imminent. Oh my God, we're going to zero. V line. Right, so the last 3 times you really flirted with this death cross, and I really don't see a reason to believe that it would be any different this time, because you have this macro megaphone pattern that typically when you get to these bottoms, guys, this is what marks the absolute craziness. Because the fact that we've gone this far in this megaphone pattern makes me believe that you're going to see something along the lines, something crazy of like this, right? From 96 to 140, retest, and then go. And where am I getting this from? Where am I getting this absolute hogwash belief? Peak Romeo Dobbs. Megaphone pattern trade and breakout. I brought this up before. This is just a good thing to know. But this is what I would be watching for on Bitcoin. You've seen this lower capitulation low. We're now watching and waiting for this absolutely screaming rally from this 4th touch up to the 5th and the retest and then the boom, right? And the way that you get your profit target off of this megaphone pattern, guys, it's that simple. It's you take the bottom of the megaphone and you put it on the top. And then you put this trend line on top of the breakout, and that takes you somewhere around at 181, which is absolutely insane. That's an 100% move from current prices, guys. So if this is going to happen, which I'm inclined to believe, you're in extreme fear, you have almost never seen your top in extreme fear, guys. It just often does not happen. We typically get to euphoria, and then everyone piles in, market makers take people's money, and then it's bon voyage, right? You see this crazy rejection. So I am watching for this on Bitcoin. I am watching for this on NEO, on GME, on AMC, on IWM, guys. And that's why I'm trying to clue all in, is the market is so fearful, and it has a right to be. But this is where you guys do your own due diligence, and where you take everything from a macro point of view, guys, because so often when you're in doubt, zoom out. And that's pretty much all I have for today. Quick market update. Love you guys all. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. I cannot do it without every single one of you guys going down below and smashing the button right now. God bless to you and your families, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, guys.